Restrictions on short-term visitors will be extended to all countries. Previously, with the exception of a few countries, these visitors were allowed in with a 14-day stay-home notice upon arrival. But this means both enforcement and medical resources will have to be directed to serve them. There were over 500 of these arrivals on Saturday, and with a spike in global cases, the multi-ministry task force says Singapore needs to conserve resources to focus on Singaporeans as the country tries to stem a new wave of infections.
These are very significant moves, especially for a small open economy like Singapore that has always been connected to the world. But this is an unprecedented crisis, and so we deliberated over this carefully, and the task force has decided we need to put in place these measures in order to keep our borders safe, to limit the number of new imported cases, and importantly, to conserve our resources to focus on returning Singaporeans.
Entry of work pass holders will also be limited to only those providing essential services like healthcare and transport. This includes their dependents.
The existing rule that employers have to first seek approval from MUM before their work pass holders come back. The Ministry of Manpower, if it is not clear, will seek help from the relevant agency in order to make that assessment, and then they will grant approval.
Now, as for those who have already obtained an entry approval from the Manpower Ministry, Mr. Wong says this will be honoured, though the numbers aren't large as the approvals are given on a daily basis. But even as these restrictions and travel advisories are in place, Mr. Wong acknowledged there are still Singaporeans who may travel during this period. The task force is in talks on how best to deal with this group.
There has to be consequences, right? Because if people are still choosing to travel despite our advisory and despite full knowledge of how serious the situation is, I don't think we can allow such a situation to continue. So we are discussing and thinking through what additional measures will be needed.
The latest measures build on those announced on Friday, where events with 250 people or more will be suspended till end June. All public venues and attractions need to mark out a 1 meter distance between seats. Mr. Wong says, while establishments need time to comply, there will be consequences for those who do not follow.
Mr. Wong said the latest measures will have wider implications on the aviation sector, and the government is mindful of this. And this will be a major consideration in the second stimulus package to help companies and workers tide through this crisis. Now, Singapore has confirmed 23 new COVID-19 infections today, taking the total number of cases to 455. Of the new cases, 18 are imported, with travel history to Europe, North America, South America and ASEAN. Among them, 17 are Singaporeans and permanent residents, while 1 is a short-term visitor from the US. The remaining 5 from today's 23 new cases are local transmissions. 4 more cases were discharged, bringing the total recovery to 144 cases. Now, of the 309 still in hospital, 14 are in critical condition in intensive care. 2 died on Saturday. As of Friday, a total of about 38,000 test kits have been used to detect COVID-19 infections in Singapore. The diagnostic test was carried out on over 25,000 persons, and this translates to about 4,500 persons tested for every 1 million people. The diagnostic test was developed in January by the National Public Health Laboratory and public hospitals. Collectively, MPHL and labs at the hospitals can conduct more than 2,000 tests daily. Now, the news: over 4,000 dengue cases have